We're going to talk today about WordPress website maintenance and why it's important, why it's essential actually, why it's part of your business policy if you own one. Is it possible to get that slideshow going? There we go. So this is a bit more about me. You know, I don't need to go through it all, but it's a colored history, I think. I've traveled, I've lived in different countries, I've moved, and ended up on the West Coast. So started my business really because I was laid off from an agency in Chicago along with everyone else. They just hit a big brick wall, and so I decided to start my own business. And since then, it's really just carried on. And here I am, so many years later, 18 years later, still going, supporting my family. That's been the driving force really, to support the family and to do what I enjoy doing. So, yeah, that's a bit of a history of me. Next slide, please. So what you have, it's important to understand, there's a lot of words and these names that come out, these names of software that come out, and people say, I've never heard of that, that's a new word. But there's a difference about website hosting. You can have a hosted website, which is where they take care of it, and you buy a package, you log in, you make all your changes and log out, but it's all included from the company that provides it, as well as the maintenance. They take care of everything. WordPress have a .com version of their own software. It's not quite as flexible, but it's still there for people who want a WordPress site. Many of us might have heard of Squarespace. GoDaddy provide a website builder. Shopify focus on e-commerce, and Wix, people may have heard of that. Now, the self-hosted is where I come in. Now that is where WordPress is downloaded and installed on your server, and you are responsible for looking after it. And the reason you might do self-hosted is because it's so flexible and powerful that you can do whatever you want within the software. And that's where people enjoy doing it themselves. So, and then Joomla and Drupal, they're the same thing, but they're not quite as popular. WordPress kind of rules the roost as far as a self-hosted, where you install it and you have to look after it. Next slide, please. So there's the question in the chat. If people could put in some answers, what would it cost you if your website was down for a day? Could be $500, could be $1,000, could be 10 grand, could be nothing. Maybe you don't really have a site, but what if it went down for a whole day? What would it cost you? That's kind of where we go on this one. Everyone wants a website that's up 100% of the time, and that rarely happens. Yesterday there was a news item about Amazon Web Services in the US that went down and affected the Washington Post. I mean, these things are not 100% all the time up. You know, you hope for 99%. That's where you aim for, and that's a reasonable goal. But what would it cost you if your website was down for a day? That's the important thing to remember. Next slide, please. So why do I focus on WordPress? You'd say, well, why do you deal with something that needs maintenance? Well, it's become something that I've used because it's free to download, and it's a hugely powerful and flexible website editor. Whatever a client wants, I can usually do it with WordPress. I can always do it actually, but the tools and the features that come with it are there's so many of them that it's really an ecosystem of solutions. Search engines love it because people use it for blogging, adding content. They like to see that. There's so many add-ons, or what they call plugins, that you can have. The quote from WordPress is, if you have an idea, there's a plugin for that. And there usually is. You can find these plugins. It's amazing the things they come out with, people think of. There's a lot of support, and WordPress actually give you a free rock solid template that you can just use every year. They just release a new one, and people use them. And then of course it's very, very popular across the internet. 60% of websites are powered. So that's a good thing to be in. Next slide, please. So why? You're like, well, why does it need maintenance? Software needs maintenance. Everything in our lives is based around being updated and changing. From your Apple TV, even my car needs to have a software update, has to go in, they update it. If you don't, there's something wrong with the car. So we get in there and get it updated. Your phone, everything's always being updated, and WordPress is no different. But what does it come out with? Well, there's a screenshot there of what we see. If you have a WordPress site, when you log in, you get these little red circles with a number, and it's just telling you that things are available to be updated. They have new features, bug fixes, security patches, that's kind of a big one, and many of improvements. They add new features. There's a lot of updates in these plugins that are provided by third parties and WordPress itself, that they're always being updated constantly. So a self-hosted site is no different. If you leave it alone, you're probably going to open yourself up as it gets older and gets more and more outdated to possibly hacking. Next slide, please. So what does it include? What can it include? We take care of the software itself. That's kind of there are major releases and also minor ones, and it does the minor ones on its own because it plugs security holes. And that's something they added about a year ago, that it's automatically updating on the minor versions. The plugins are the add-ons, the additional features that we bring in. Some are paid, some are free. There are templates in there. You use your own template. That one is usually updated. You've got to back up your site every month. That's important. Sometimes even away from the server you're hosted on. I've done that before, and I offer that service just because sometimes the server itself gets corrupted, and then where's your backups gone? We take care of comments, spam, special messaging, but we've added WordFence, which is a hugely powerful malware scanner and a firewall protecting on the website. So WordFence is what we've been installing across all of our projects in the last month or so, last 2 months. So that's the protection, and it lets you know if there's a problem real quick. Next slide, please. So what you've got here is, what are you listening for? What do you hear when you're out there about, like, how would you hear about this specific task? It's people say, you know, I don't have time. I have a WordPress site. I don't have time. WordPress needs maintenance. What are you talking about? Yeah, it does. Oh, my site went down. What do I do now? I don't have time. I have to concentrate on my business. I'd rather have someone else take care of it. I'd love some peace of mind that someone is taking care of this for me every month. So you having someone behind the scenes, keeping it running is a great way to run your business. Or people just don't know how to do it. So that's not me. I'm not able to do that yoga pose just yet, but I'm trying. So inspiration for me. So next slide, please. And that is it. So we're on Facebook, Instagram. Give me a call. You can email me if you want to be added to our email list. I will add you. That goes out each month. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm glad to see you're all still awake.